for our first center stage conversation of the day, a roadmap for the modern creative with Mahurin. And it is moderated by Jonathan Nagel. Just want to take a minute to remind you that AFMX is a nonprofit festival, so please give a round of applause to the sponsors and the volunteers who are making this happen. Couldn't do it without them. Thank you so much. And then a little side note before I introduce our moderator, please, no recording of this. This is about the present moment. Please be here with Matt and Jonathan. It will be recorded right there, so portions of it will be available to watch later, but please just be here and be present. So your moderator, Albuquerque native Jonathan Nagel, studied at the University of Denver, creating short films and working in broadcast production. He was fortunate to meet some of his childhood heroes, like Ray Harryhausen and Sid Mead, while attending a visual effects conference in Marin County, California, which planted the seeds of his career and future endeavors. This experience cemented the idea that playing, creating, and visualizing one's imagination through the lens of design for the rest of your life can be a career choice. Hooray to that. So, without further ado, I want to introduce Jonathan Nagel. Enjoy.
Yeah. How's it going, everybody? Good morning, and thank you all for being here. I'd like to just sort of get into this and introduce my friend Matt Mahurin. I'm also a graduate from the Art Center College of Design. I grew up watching lots of music videos, playing a lot of, video games and cartoons, but it was the music videos on MTV growing up that I really resonated with. And Matt's career is one of these where it's like I knew his work and it resonated, and then I didn't know him until later, and then it came through. I was like, oh my gosh, you're the guy behind all the images and these amazing music videos that I would watch growing up, from like Metallica, from Alice in Chains, Joni Mitchell, we got Tracy Chapman. There's a lot of amazing music videos in his career, and then also the illustration side. I mean, I grew up as an artist myself, and the inspiration is always there. And so, like looking at Time magazine covers and other editorial magazines, seeing his amazing start to his career, something that really inspired me to sort of blaze this path myself as well. So, without kind of like going into much more detail, I just wanted to introduce my friend Matt, and I'm going to head off on the side, but I want to just give him the full stage right here to go into his storied career. And we're in an era right now with technology ramping up big time, and I think the first kind of like hot button issue I want to just kind of dive into right away, and I feel like you're the person to dive into with this, is let's talk about analog versus AI.
Cool. Yeah, I basically, my take on it is that I'm absolutely blown away, amazed by the technology, just like I was when I picked up my first camera, or the first paintbrush I got that I actually dip it in paint and I can actually move it onto the paper. So it's always some form of technology. And through my life, there's been all kinds of technology, some of which I've chose to partake in and some I haven't. I'm a digital artist. I've used Photoshop. I use the brushes they make, all their cool brushes. I would love, one of my dreams would be to do a group hug with the people who invented Photoshop. But in terms of AI, that's for me personally where I've drawn the line. And basically, I have decided that I consider myself an AI-proof artist. That's the way I've chosen to live the rest of my life till I drop dead, whether the paintbrush or camera falls out of my hand or the computer dies with me, whatever happens. That's my personal choice about it. The thing for me is that whatever I do, it's the making of the thing. And I want anybody that looks at my work to know that nothing was generated from some other piece of art that somebody else created. I have, inside my mind, I have a billion images from things I've seen and loved and coveted, and that's my database. That's what I call from to be my own AI generator. The way I can describe AI from a metaphorical point of view is, let's look at sea travel. Let's say like you want to get from here to an island. You're in a rowboat. The rowboat is your canvas, the oar is your paint, and you have to, how far do you want to go? You're going to have to go under your own muscle power, your own brain power. You're going to have to row. You're going to have to get blisters. You're going to have to, and you can only go to kind of one island at first. And so you're really at the most rudimentary levels of it. Maybe you get a little outboard motor when you get Photoshop or something. that can help you and speed you along a little, whatever. But it's you go that far. Metaphorically, or in sea travel, if you're in AI, you're basically, you got your luggage and you get onto a super yacht and you pull up a deck chair up next to a seafaring captain who's traveled the 7 seas for 50 years. And you pull up next to him and he's got the entire history of maritime navigation. He's got this, 1 billion horsepower engine. He's got this crew of people. They've got every gadget and widget you could possibly imagine. And you come up next to him and you go, I want to go over there. And that's your prompt. Now, you may have great passion, like, I want to fucking go there. I want to see what's on that island, man. Just like when somebody who can't draw, can't paint, whatever, I want to see this image. I don't begrudge anybody that curiosity, because I've been living with that curiosity since I was born. So the idea that somebody can have that technology and type something in and have that, get that same rush to some degree that I get. Now, if you don't know what it's like to be able to draw or paint like this or take photographs like this or have these kind of experiences, then you're never going to know that. And you're never going to get it. And what I had to do to get that is I want to keep that going. And so I don't resent AI. I don't know enough about it. I'm not intimidated by it at all. And I'm not scared of it. And it's just like in any form of technology, it's always a trade-off. So for me, I've just chosen, and for me to be a proponent or an opponent of it, I'm not really, but I'm going to be an advocate of creating everything from the inside out. I take things in, and then I'm the machine that pumps out this thing, and it's not right, then I change it. I redo it. I think about something else. So that's my take on that.
No, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate that. I want to kind of lighten up a couple of things and just kind of go through a couple little quicker ones. But what's the first album you ever bought? I'm really curious.
The Royal Guardsman, I believe. Liberty Valance, who shot Liberty Valance. But the first real one was the Monkees. I was in love with Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees. I think maybe to the point where I wished I was a girl. I was so in love with the Monkees. And I'm a believer. Oh my God. Last Train to Clarksville. Pfft.
All right. Fantastic. When you're creating, I'm kind of curious. You just, we've seen the desk and everything like that, but what are you drinking? Coffee, tea? What's the fuel?
Well, for a long time, I was what you would call highly functioning alcoholic. I was totally sober till I was in my 20s. I mean, I didn't drink. I didn't care about anything like that. I don't really. It's just water. It's like my main thing. Water, tea. I don't drink coffee. There's a whole thing in this book I write about caffeine. I don't have any caffeine really. I feel like what happened when I was born, something got bumped and my adrenal glands got open like the Hoover Dam, and nobody figured out it rusted, or somebody didn't know how to shut it. So I've got an adrenal gland going for 66 years. And the last thing I need is to have some artificial stimulant, So I'll have a lot of wonderful decaf black teas.
Are you, along that same thing, are you listening to music as you're creating? Are you like an artist? It's like, I need to be solitary.
Everything from just totally whatever, but I love books on tape, audiobooks. Music. Yeah, sometimes nothing.
Okay.
It just really depends on what mood I'm in, And what I'm really grateful for is I'm working in my world, and I can listen to what I want or not listen. I've worked really hard to create a work environment where I'm mostly in control. When I'm on a film set, I'm the director, so I have a lot of control, but I'm at the mercy of the record label people, the peccadillos of the stars, the crew, all the logistics of everything. But for the most part, I'm pretty much a one-man band, so I then can control my environment.
Okay. So in terms of painting, I want to kind of go back to this. It's like, I know how hard it is to do it, and what's the fastest job? What's the fastest turnaround that a client said, you have to get this done in, and kind of give us a parameters of time?
Oh, it's like the Time Magazine jobs, a couple hours sometimes, when you could email things, or you had to take into account. When I used to do illustrations, you'd have to I'd take a wet painting and I have to pack it in a photo box, and put it in the belly of the Lufthansa plane that was going to Europe, and it'd take a day and a half to get there, and then and then you'd have to wait, and hopefully the thing didn't get crushed or freeze in the belly of the plane, and then the person would call you when it arrived, and you'd fill out these crazy air bills, and now by the time you finish the thing and go to get a glass of water, have a P, you've already got a response saying, you know, the sky's too dark. Can you lighten the sky? Can you add, you know? So you're always in that real thing. But I mean, I thrive on the time. This is just like in production. It's not even a matter of how quickly I have. I love to work fast. Like I really, because I figure if I work fast, I can just do more and have more experiences. So I've cultivated efficiency is as much a part of my workday as efficiency and strategy is as much a part of it as any kind of free-floating creative muse that's going to float down and a light on my shoulder and whisper something special. I love to just kick ass. I love the combination, especially film production. I love these highfalutin ideas of having these visions and these things in my mind. People ask me like, oh, how do you do music videos? How do you conceptualize your music videos? And the simplest way is like we all listen to songs. We see a movie when we listen to a song. For some, it's a epic blockbuster. For some, it's a cartoon. For some, it's just splashes of color. I've been blessed to be able to take those movies out of my head and then put them out into the world. So it's really about speed, efficiency, and then when I need to take time, because then if I'm really fast and I work efficiently, then when I really need to indulge and stop and take a break, I've cultivated the ability to do that.
Okay.
To balance that out.
Do you have a let's say you've worked with so many amazing musicians, and I'm always curious to ask that question, and it's like sometimes I feel like with artists it's taboo to be like, what's your favorite? Because everything has, you know, a favorite part of it. But do you have a favorite musician that you've worked with, and why was it your favorite?
Well, I would say there's probably a favorite group.
Okay.
And most of those people are the people I've had like really long periods of time of working with. Like I've worked with U2 for 40 years, and I worked with Tom Waits for 40 years. In terms of human beings, Peter Gabriel was just, as a human being, I went to Nicaragua with him to take photographs from him. I did a video for, I did several videos for him. One of my second or third video was for Mercy Street, which is just a gorgeous song. And I went to Nicaragua and met Daniel Ortega there, so he was amazing. Bono was just incredible. I did a short film with Bono, 10-minute film with him about the making of the last album. The album before, Tom Waits. You know, one of the things I write in these books is how I've had pizza with Tom Waits. I smoked a cigar with Lou Reed. I've flown in airplanes with, you know, Bono. I've been in a hot tub with Joni Mitchell, filming her. All platonic, of course. I've been hugged by Tracy Chapman and given a kiss on the cheek by, you know, Bette Midler. So it's like, you know, I had this one thing where I was meeting Cher, and she was incredible. Bette Midler was incredible. And tough, smart, amazing, powerful people. And I was at Cher's. We had this meeting in her bedroom, and her nightstand had like these stacks of books. And it wasn't like Danielle Steele novels or whatever kinds of things in Vogue magazine. It was like these big fat books about history and all this stuff stacked up. And we're walking down the steps, and there's like a German Shepherd just tearing the shit out of all of her patio furniture. And we're standing on the thing, and she looks and does not miss a beat. And she goes, because she didn't have a great history with men, she's like, there's just another man fucking up my life. And then I was doing a video with her, and I made this kind of metallic shape that had a reference to a female's sexual organ. And if you watch, I think it's called Some Kind of Tears or whatever, and it's just this big metal vagina.
Wow.
And I come home one day and I got this message, and it's, hi Matt, this is Cher. You're probably out building a big vagina for Madonna right now. Can you call me when you get back? So there's just so many stories. I was walking by a pool at the Chelsea Piers in New York City, and I'm like just having some time to myself. You know, I'm working. I ride my bike up. I'm playing basketball. I go for some, and I'm walking. I go, hey Matt, how's it going? I look down, and there's Lou Reed pulling these little goggles off. I'm saying, hey man, you want to get lunch later or whatever? And so it's just endless stories like that.
Amazing. So this is an interesting question to just sort of go from like, you know, an artist. Like, if you were not an artist, what career would you be in?
I would be an emergency room doctor.
Can you expand on that?
Well, my dad was a doctor for 50 years. My mom was a nurse. I have a small home surgery kit. I consider myself an amateur wound care specialist. Wound care specialist and amateur normally shouldn't go together.
Okay.
But I perform some minor surgery. I've done some pretty. And Lisa will come home, my wife, she'll come home and she'll see me like this with a headlamp on over my leg, and she'll see like a thing of blood, rivulet blood going down my leg. I mean, when we were growing up, my brother got hit in the face with a rock, and my dad let me put the sutures in. So I got to put like 6 sutures into his head, and yeah, so all that stuff is just really cool. I just so that would be it. Would be a medical doctor, but emergency room, because I like the pressure and I like the the mess.
All right, that helps.
I like to get. Let me say one more thing about that. Healthy tissue. Another thing in this book I'm writing is that I really believe that life is about getting down to healthy tissue. Whether I'm cleaning out a wound or taking out whatever I'm doing, or I'm repairing dry rot at my house, or trying to get to a problem, I got to get down to healthy tissue. It doesn't matter how painful it is. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It doesn't matter what I have to remove. Because once I get down to healthy tissue, only then will I be able to rebuild and make something in a really healthy way.
Beautiful. I know we have a lot of students in the audience, and I'm sure they have a lot of questions as well. One question that kind of comes is like, what's the most underrated piece of advice you'd give students?
Most underrated?
Yeah.
Oh, they're all important.
Okay.
I mean, because I've been calling that underrated, meaning you say and people would dismiss it, and it would actually prove to be. I think probably underrated or it's harder for them to believe maybe.
Yeah.
Is the level of true personal responsibility that you have in your fate. We don't control anything. I don't believe, personally, my spiritual, metaphysical belief is we do not control. We influence. We can influence things. I'm not talking about influencers. I'm talking about we influence through our actions what we can do. So I think sometimes people underestimate, unfortunately and tragically, their own internal deep power to affect change and make their dreams a reality, as cliche as that sounds.
Do you have any advice, and I kind of maybe to tack on to that is just like how to just really build that tenacity as a student and how to really dig into one's guts and like go for it?
Somebody asked me a question. I was at a restaurant and I was talking to somebody as we were waiting for our cars, and they told me they were an aspiring photographer, and they asked me what I'd done. And I told them a few things that I'd done, and they could see, wow, this guy's done some stuff. So he kept asking me for we had like a 5-minute conversation. And I just said, screw it. When I'm in a conversation like that, I got 5 minutes with the person. I'm not going to pull any punches. I'm gonna be full-throated about what it feels like to have this incredible success, but I'm also going to talk about what it's like to be an alcoholic, to blow all my money, to be scared of my own shadow sometimes, whatever it is. So I don't pull any punches either way. And I just was going through this, and at the end, my car's going to be here in 30 seconds. Could you give me like one piece of advice, as I'm just kind of starting my career? And I said, basically, the bottom line is just don't fucking give up. I mean, it's the most cliche thing in the world. If I was going to say what even the little pitch thing, little video I sent, I consider that my secret weapon. Not that I can do all these different things, or that I'm a smart guy or creative guy or, ambitious guy, but it's really tied to never giving up. Doesn't mean I don't fail a lot. Doesn't mean I don't make incredible mistakes. Doesn't mean I don't cause pain to other people and myself. It has nothing to do with that. I just don't fucking stop until somebody takes it out of my hand or says it's over, it's done, you're not going to be able to do it. With some kind of outside source. But I've developed the ability. I'm not an idiot, and I'm not going to keep bashing my head against the wall. I've learned to know when that moment is, when it's over, but I will not give up. And the key is to be able to know when that moment is. And sometimes I'll push past it just in case. And so many times things have been like Greg, my buddy here, who we went through school with. I mean, we had a thing where we remember when you did the piece for the Society of Illustrators, you had that painting, you threw it in the garbage. And I pulled it out, and I worked on it a little bit, and they gave it to him. Greg Splank over here, and his wife, Roxanne Villa, brilliantly talented artist, perfumist, really incredibly talented people. I've known Greg for over 40 years. He took that piece, I threw it on his thing, he worked on it, and it got one of the top pieces in the Society of Illustrators competition. And he's the guy I went to New York with. We're sitting in this little apartment looking at this guy's in-flight magazine illustrations he did. There were like little spots, and oh my God, if we could only do something like this someday, it's like, so those are the kind of experiences you have. You just do not give up. That's it.
So I'm going to, just in terms of timing here, what I want to do is just to give us enough time to get through the imagemaker's handbook, and then also give enough time for folks to ask questions. Sure. I'm going to kind of pare this part down a little bit, okay, so that you can kind of...
The imagemaker's handbook thing's going to probably only be like 15 minutes or so, if that helps or whatever. So that can...
15?
Yeah. So it's going to be... I'm going to go through it pretty quick.
Okay. So maybe we'll go a little bit longer on this then. Okay.
I don't want to cut into your time at all.
No?
I can adapt.
all the characters in history, right? We have like, and especially in artists, we have like Michelangelo, and you have all the contemporary musicians you've worked with. Like, who is the one artist that you would, want to sit down and have dinner with, and what would you want to discuss with them?
Man, again, it's this like small club, as a painter, it could be Rembrandt, it could be Michelangelo, it could be Edward Hopper, it could be Andrew Wyeth. I mean, all the people that have been my greatest influences. I've gotten all those different things. Photographers, it'd be Henry Cartier-Bresson, Diane Arbus, Larry Fink. Those are the people in terms of that. In terms of filmmakers, I'm just not much of a film buff student or whatever. So, so basically, I think those are the people. In a strange way, it's my dad. My dad was a doctor, was a brilliantly creative person, but never did it. It'd be great. He passed away this last year, so it'd be great. I'd love to be able to sit down with him as an artist and tap into what made him creative as a doctor, and he was a brilliant photographer. So, wherever I could seek it, I would say.
I'm just going to throw this out because my dad is actually here, and he's also a doctor. And I'm like, Dad, we should have a nice, warm conversation about this stuff. So appreciate that.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah. Was there any project? I mean, I feel like you have a fearless mindset when it comes to tackling any subject matter. But was there any project that like just truly scared you the most to start?
Well, I would say the imagemaker's Handbook thing. I'm sitting here right now scared shitless because I'm about ready to show this thing. I mean, and I'll talk about that story when we get there. But it's the thing. A lot of times, it's the thing that I haven't done yet. But the thing is, fearless. It's a kind of cliche term, but fearless is not an absence of fear. It's the ability to push through fear. I mean, the things that I've been most afraid of in my life is getting sober, getting married. Those are the two most humbling, and I never knew that you could get power from humility. I associated power with working for cool people, making a lot of money, traveling around the world, getting the respect of my peers, inspiring students. I never knew that admitting I was an alcoholic or that I was terrified of commitment or whatever those things were, and that I needed therapy, that I needed professional objective help, as much as I needed a doctor for a colonoscopy or an eye doctor to assess my prescription. I mean, I need those things. I needed a therapist as practical as anything because that was other problems to solve. So those were the things that was really, most important to me. Is being able to just be honest.
Okay. Is there I feel like I already know the answer to this, so I'm going to skip that one. Where's the weirdest place you found inspiration?
Probably in places where you wouldn't imagine inspiration. I would say inspiration. I mean, there's one of the chapters in this book is called the Euphoria of Misery, and it's the idea like you think, oh, Mother Teresa, she takes care of these AIDS babies in Calcutta. Oh, isn't she heroic? And stuff. She's a pig in shit. She is following her life dream. She is where she belongs. And so it doesn't matter. I mean, the most inspired I've been a lot of times is when I've been the most physically uncomfortable. I mean, getting trapped in the car in Haiti, seeing the body parts floating in the fluid, seeing the prisoners who murderers or people who never had any love or respect, photographing gang members who had lived 5 miles from Santa Monica Beach and were 18 years old and had never been to the beach. Things that were, again, humility and being humbled. I mean, if you're an artist, you want a grand life. You're full of, grandiosity. You're full of big dreams, big hopes, big ambition. You got to have big dreams, but it has to be countered with the deepest of humility. And that's what, for me, why getting out into the world. And I never expected to get things where you get such a rush. I mean, such a high. It's not like I'm going to want to, when I saw those body parts or when I was trapped in the car, it's not like but I was living on the edge as an artist. I was living as a human being on the edge. I was pushing myself to the limits of what my physical and, fear, courage things were, and especially, I mean, if you're young and you're a student, like, oh, I'm 24 years old, it's like life's kind of hard and stuff, but try living another 40 years or 50 years. And stacking up all the pains and aches and sadness and loss and all that kind of stuff, like that's what you have to make friends with misery, with pain, with loss. So I think that's really, even like this book and this movie that I'm making, which I'll talk a little bit about, in a strange way, they're like, I was taking a run on the beach recently, and I realized that these things are a preparation for my own death. Not in a morbid way, but in a way of releasing me from my past, releasing me from all those kind of things. As I get older, I'm trying, I'm pretty much a minimalist as it is, but whether it's trying to shed a few extra pounds or, a relationship or friendship or some professional thing that's not fulfilling you. I mean, I've really learned to cull things over the years. So that's really crucial to be able to be, like, again, that efficiency and to be able to deal and find that rush. I mean, that's as high as I've ever been in those moments. But I've also scooping up a handful of dirt from the shortstop at the infield at Yankee Stadium to bring home to my friend, or all this, being backstage with Bono 5 seconds before it goes on stage, coming up and giving me a hug. This incredible, endless, sharing a bottle of wine with Henry Cartier-Bresson in his Paris apartment, overlooking the same Tuileries Gardens where I took the photograph that's now sitting in the Met long after I die. So I love those two extremes of that fear and then real just like unimaginable. Even like releasing this Imagemaker's Handbook, I can't believe I made it 26 years to get to this place where it's ready to come out,
Wow. Yeah. So kind of a playful question here.
Oh, thank God, right, everybody?
If you could time travel and maybe just like witness and possibly even maybe work with the artist, who would it be?
Oh, you mean to learn from somebody? To learn from an artist?
I was going to say more like witness them, but I kind of like the idea of maybe learn from them.
Oh, I would think I would probably have to go with Michelangelo, because I think he might be the pinnacle of genius, maybe as an artist. I mean, if you look at where he came from, if you look at his paintings and his sculptures, if you've ever stood in front of David or the Sistine Chapel, I mean, you can't even. The idea that he knew that the hand had to be that much bigger when you saw it in the head. I mean, all the logistics of all that stuff. I think that would be the person that, and I might even read a little something about that. But I would say he would be the person. But I mean, I'd love to be standing next to Winslow Homer when he was wearing one of his raincoats, standing out painting the coast of Maine, or Cartier-Bresson when he's walking through the streets of Paris. I mean, it's just endless.
It's amazing because two of the artists that came to mind for me is Michelangelo, and it's because the David, when I saw it when I was in Italy as a young man around 14, and I just remember how powerful his work is and how it's it's here today and it's transcended time and space just to continue to move through reality for everybody. It's amazing stuff. Yeah. And then Winslow Homer, it's really funny. I've done actually when I was going through Art Center myself, that's actually one of the painters I was studying a lot. So
unbelievable. They had a little place where in Maine, I think, where he kept his stuff, and there was one of his rain hats, and there was this hanging on a thing, and nobody was there. It was at the museum, and I picked it up, and there was he was painted in France, and I opened up this book, and it was a little French to English, English to French dictionary, and I opened it up, and there was in pencil, there was a little WH in it, and my wife's standing there, and she looks at me, and she goes, "No fucking way." I wasn't going to take it. But the idea that I was holding this and this thing was in the palm of my hand, that he was walking the streets of Paris with his easel or whatever, pretty cool.
Wow. So if you're, I kind of feel like it might even be the answer to what we've already just, but I feel like you have a better answer than what we have for the title of this. If your whole life was a movie, what would be the title of that movie?
It's funny you should say that, because over the years I've been asked, because some people are master delegators, or they're like the symphony orchestra, and they stand up with their little baton and they run the whole show, and you don't know the hours they've spent in doing this, and they're a master conductor, and they're amazing. Their process is amazing to study. I have had those big moments, but I'm more of a one-man band, so I'm the guy with the cymbals between my legs and a harmonica and a little whirly gig in my head playing the guitar, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So sometimes people come to me and say, "Hey, we'd love to document your life, your work, or whatever, and follow you around." And I said, I'm deeply flattered, but the idea of being followed around by a camera crew is a total pain in the ass, and what it would take, I'd have no control. So about 4 years ago, I said, you know what? I made this documentary, I Like Killing Flies, about this restaurant, about this crazy chef that was in Sundance and it's being re-released. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to make a movie about my process like I made a movie about this guy's process. So for 3 or 4 years now, I've been wearing a GoPro on my head. Not every day and all day long, thank goodness, but on and off for 4 years. And I've been filming my life. And so the movie is called A Creative Life. And basically, it started out, it was just going to be about being an artist. It was going to be a little short film about how to do a little film project, but it's evolved into this 2-hour feature, which not only how to be a creative life as an artist, but how to be creative life as a husband, as a brother, as a friend. And so I've been just basically documenting everything from like saving creatures on my property, just endless projects, everything from directing things, the sequence on smashing my fingers, pulling splinters out, cuts, blood, the whole thing, the moments of just one-on-one. So it's moments in my marriage, driving down the freeway saying, honey, can you hold my phone? We're driving on the 10 freeway, it's crazy, and she's holding the phone. You can see her wedding ring there. And I'm like, look, I got this great idea. I said, okay, everybody, a lot of couples have their like his and hers, bath towels, how sweet, how romantic. And some couples have their his and hers therapy appointments. And that's what we're on our way to today. So then we got this whole riff of us about therapy and what it's done for our marriage and all. So it's nuts. I almost caught the house on fire, and I didn't catch the house on fire. Something I was a little sad I was shooting caught on fire because I dipped the brush in acetone that had fire on it. But anyway, when you see the movie, you'll understand. But the exchange between me and my wife is just incredible, and she didn't know I filmed her reaction, and then I filmed her watching the reaction to me showing her how mad she got at me, because in the middle of it, she's like, this is your penance. You're going to read this. All these fire manuals. Did you have the fire extinguisher there and a bucket of water? And I've actually got the footage showing me setting everything up and putting the fire. And she goes, all right, did you take your clothes out of the dryer yet? And then she goes, and then she's like, all right, now get out of here. I'm making lunch and you're going to love it. And that is like marriage in like 5 minutes, So you'll see it through this. So that's what the movie is. And that's what now that once I finish this Imagemaker's Handbook, I'm just going to be living with this year, hours and hours and hours of footage.
I'm curious, like how many years and how much footage have you shot?
4 years of on and off. I mean, hundreds of hours probably.
Wow.
I've got like 200 sequences cut from 10 seconds to 5 minutes that are all going to be called down. It may be 2 parts. I'm not sure. It just depends. I just want to get through the Imagemaker's Handbook.
Okay.
But I've been gathering this stuff and Imagemaker's Handbook, the filming of doing Imagemaker's Handbook. I took a year and a half off to finish writing it, where I sat in my chair for probably 50 to 60 hours a week, writing the final rights and then having somebody just review it grammatically, sending things back and forth. So it was like little mini, every time I'd get one of these things and she'd like tear me a new one, it was like a new thing when my prostate PSA numbers would come in and like checking the numbers, like where's it going to be? And like how bad is it going to be? Like you get this little rush like, oh, so you're living on both ends of the spectrum no matter how cool it all feels.
Wow. So you're writing a book, and I'm curious, what's the book, is this, or I'm trying to think of how to formulate this. It's like, what's a book you wish, and not going on the Imagemaker's Handbook, but what's a book you wish you had read way earlier in your life?
The Imagemaker's Handbook.
Okay.
Right. I mean, I was never a reader. I mean, I never read. Reading was not in my. I read The Catcher in the Rye when I was in 8th grade, and that was it. I did not read a book. I did not read books. I did not. The idea of like making my eyeballs go back and forth on the page like this, and then having to go, and then just and then have to comprehend it. I was just not. I was not.
Reading wasn't.
Reading was not words. All those funny shapes on the. I was just a visual guy. Every cliche you could possibly imagine. It was just, I was not that. And I was not a natural writer. I had to teach myself, I had to teach myself.
Okay. So if you're on a desert island, stranded, and you have one piece of artwork, and this is not your own, one piece of artwork, one record, and one film, what are they?
I would say film might be Rushmore.
Okay.
And the other was record album.
Yep.
Maybe, oh God, there's so many. Maybe Bruce Springsteen, Nebraska. because his dark. I mean, I'm not into the 4th of July jumping up and down, but his Nebraska was maybe that. I mean, the inspiration you get from that melancholy is it's almost unmatchable. Maybe a U2 album, maybe. And then painting, I know which one it would be. There's a painting that I was looking at paintings when I was a kid, and Norman Rockwell was my hero, and I look at all these Thanksgiving paintings and all the stuff, Saturday evening postings, and I came upon this one painting he did that was of a soldier sitting in front of a machine gun, like at night it almost looked like, and his uniform was torn, there was blood, there were brass shells on the ground, the gun was smoking, he was like leaning on this gun, and I looked at that painting, and that was the first time, other than Salvador Dali, because when I was really little, Salvador Dali tripped me out. But that was the first painting I ever wanted to be inside of, like emotionally. Like I would stare at that painting. It was the first painting I ever really tried to copy, and so that connected me to the power of what art could do for somebody, and it was. And not only that, but if you look at that guy was a genius. I mean, you could put his painting skills up against anybody. I mean, he was a whacked out dude. I mean, he was crazy. He took Christmas morning off, and that was it basically. So I think his wife had a lobotomy, and she committed suicide in a bath. I mean, the biography of him is just incredible. But that is the painting that showed maybe his pain, his anguish, his whatever. Of the human condition. And so whatever it was for me being 13 years old, whatever it was when I saw that, I wanted to climb into that fucker, and I wanted to just, I wanted to burn my hand on the gun, I wanted to rattle those shells, I wanted to smell the sweat, where was the blood coming from? I'm like, that's it for me. So I'd sit on this beautiful desert island looking at that horrible, that dark moment, and that would sustain me.
That's fantastic. Maybe I think maybe one last question until we open it up to audience questions, or is that?
Yeah, well, I'll just do this, and then I'll do the quick imagemaker's handbook thing, and then we'll do the
Q&A.
Q&A.
Who's an artist that you haven't collaborated with, and you would love to?
Musical artist?
Yeah.
Eminem. Because I think the guy's like a genius poet. I mean, I think the guy's just a bona fide genius. Tupac Shakur. I think those two guys are just absolute genius poets. And tragically, one obviously self-fulfilling prophecy in a lot of ways. And Eminem, I don't know if I've, more honest, talented, defiant, gutsy, fucked up artist. And I relate to all those things. Fucked up, gutsy, always expanding, growing, introspection, and fearless,
Love that. All right.
Okay,
Matt, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Fantastic question.
Yeah.
Thank you.